name's Matt, and in today's video we're going to be doing an After Effects project. I haven't done one in a while, and this is going to be called Slick Object Transitions Summit 26. So check it out. Okay, so it's not perfect. I tried to do it pretty quick because I didn't really I didn't really have an idea going into it, so I just did it real quick. I want to show you guys the basic workflow for creating this. I got a couple requests for something like this, so I'll do my best to explain it. This isn't like my best work, but I think it turned out all right. It was really pretty easy for the most part, but it does have a lot of layers. So we'll just do our best to stay organized, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a really long video. I'll do my best to keep it into one video and hopefully under 40 minutes. But yeah, we're going to be covering a lot. So anyway, with that, let's jump into Illustrator and just create our little icons real quick. And that won't take very long at all. Basically, I like to just create a square in the middle for like my general size of what my object's going to be. Pick a random color and make it a little bit, I don't know, opaque, I guess, and just center it. So this is going to be this is 1920 by 1080 as well. And then I'll just call this my guide layer real quick. And so what we're going to do now is create a new layer, click this icon. I'm just going to assume you guys basically know how to use Illustrator and After Effects, just so we don't have to really make this video drag out. But let's go and really quick create our little picture. So all I did is I use my color guide. It's a pretty easy way to get colors that match pretty well. So just find a color you like to start with and just go through and maybe find something. I'm gonna do a I guess I'll do a right complement color scheme, and maybe I will also just pick a better color. I really don't like this orange, so I'll just make it maybe a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's probably fine. I don't really care. So yeah, let's just draw a quick rectangle here and just center it in the middle of your composition with your align. And what we'll do is now let's also draw the back frame. So just normally if I'm drawing anything in Illustrator and I know I'm going to bring it into After Effects, I do make it a little bit different. Like I don't use like any masks or anything in Illustrator because I know I'll be using them inside After Effects. So just heads up on that if something looks funny. I know, but I'm planning on doing it. So anyway, let's just create a quick little scene like for this Kodak picture. Or whatever it may be, and yeah, so we'll try to make these quick. Yeah, sorry guys, you can jump ahead if you want. It's all pretty straightforward, so I'll just draw this right here, and you guys can make the same thing or something else, or make nothing. I don't know. Just try to follow along. I don't like that. As you can see, the color guide's pretty helpful just for having nice matching colors. And then I'll just get rid of the stroke because I do not want it. Here's a cool little tip. Yeah, so I know I'm going to be masking these. So these are going to be mountains that pop up, but I know I'm going to mask them. So I'm not going to worry about cutting them to the right size. So with that layer selected, just go up here and click release to layers or sequence. And that's going to put all of our layers like this, and then just drag them out, and we'll delete this top layer. And I always name my layers, otherwise it'll get really confusing inside After Effects. So I'm just going to call this one Sun. That's actually a horrible color. Maybe I should switch this to some different color scheme or whatever. I'll just pick random colors and go from there. But yeah, that wasn't looking too hot. I couldn't even tell what was happening. So let's see. I guess I'll make that one like a green. That looks pretty terrible. That's fine, whatever. We'll make this one the picture back. I'll call this one picture frame. And then and if you're not sure what layer it is, just toggle your eye tool here to see what layer's what. So I'm gonna call this front mountain. And then the other one would be back mountain. So with that all set up, let's just save this to our desktop or wherever you want to save stuff. Just create a new folder, and I'll call this objects, and I'll call this one, what was I calling this one? A picture? I guess, will work fine, and just save that for whatever Illustrator version you have. Okay, so now let's just do Shift Command S to do a save as, and I'm going to call this one phone, and just so we keep our guide layer, and press OK. And then I'll just delete all these layers except for the picture frame. Yep, it's fine to delete this. And just scale this down, and we'll make a quick and easy phone. Pretty generic looking. So just do this real quick. Yeah, I never know if I should like show you guys how to make this stuff or what. So leave me a comment if this is not even helpful or anything like that. I know some of you guys probably are really good with Illustrator, but then there's also like some new people. So I just don't know what's best. So right now, at least for the time being, I'm gonna keep like showing people how to make stuff in Illustrator, and maybe you'll learn something. Who knows? Maybe I'll learn something from some comment that says I did a horrible job. But anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen. I hope I'm doing all right. So I'll just create a little button down here, do the standard iPhone look. All right, I guess it has an orange button today. And then we'll click our little layer right here and go release 2 layers and sequence. Just do this and drag it out. And we'll just repeat what we did before. So just name these. So I have a button. I have a top earphone, or I don't know what you call those actually. Speaker. That's the word I was looking for. This is going to be the screen, and then I'm going to have the phone itself right there, and that's already saved as phone. So I'll just make sure it's saved. I'll do Shift Command S, and I will make now a coffee mug. I just picked some random objects that were easy. And just kind of came up with the transitions after I imported it into After Effects. It's really not too fancy, but it's kind of cool, I guess. It's, you know, just getting into some more motion graphic-y stuff. So I'll just drag this in a little bit and see. Let's see. So I'm just creating the bottom of the coffee mug, and it's not going to be perfect, but I don't really care. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then let's just grab some brown colors, maybe drag this down, scale it up a little bit, create the top of this coffee mug here, just center that, and that is a giant top. Starbucks would be losing a lot of money with that. Scale this one down as well. This will just be, yeah, I don't know. I didn't spend much time on the design on this, so don't judge me. I just kind of threw them together because they look really generic, and that is what I was going for. So let's see. That looks pretty bad still. Okay, that's fine. And then I will just create one more here. And actually, I know this is going to be a mask, so I'm just going to just draw a real quick one like this, and this is going to be like that hand guard or protection or whatever, because the coffee mug will probably be hot. So just click this and go and release layers to sequence, and drag these out, and just repeat what we just did one more time, and then we have to do this one more time, and then we're all set for After Effects stuff. So I'm going to call this protection, I guess. I think that is, yeah. And then this is going to be maybe the top lid. I don't know. I can't tell from this little picture here. Let's see. Ooh, I guess wrong. This is actually the middle lid. Oh well. Today is not my day. Call this one cup. And then this one would be top lid. Make sure that's saved. Do Shift Command S, and we'll now create a quick and easy camera. Just real generic, of course. Just delete this. Yeah, and there's not like a right way to always do stuff. You can just, you just use the tools you have available, and I mean, if you only know how to do some stuff and not all of it, you can just figure it out like that. Just delete these layers. That's fine. Yeah, if that made sense. But same goes for Cinema 4D. Like, I mean, there's so many different ways to get the job done. And that is really what makes After Effects fun, and also Cinema 4D fun. At least in my opinion anyway. I think it's a good time. Just figuring out, I mean, sometimes it's even fun to like challenge yourself and like try to make something a different way than normal, and just kind of branch out a little bit. I'll create a quick button here. guess the button will be neon green, and put a flash over here. I'm not sure if that's what cameras look like anymore since they're all digital, but it should be fine. And then I will just create a little lens here, like a little place to look through. I guess this is kind of like a vintage camera with a lens instead of like an LED screen or something. Okay, so I have a quick camera. We'll just go release layers to sequence and get these layers out of there. Delete that, delete this layer that doesn't have anything, and let's just start naming our layers. So I have the lens, I have the flash, I have a button. Whoa, didn't click anything there. So this is a button. And this way, since we're naming it in Illustrator, it's going to be a lot easier to work with inside After Effects. It's just the whole like pre-production before you work on a project. And I'll call this like ribbon or something. And then this will be camera body, or I'll just call this cam body. Okay, so we're all set. So let's just hop on over into After Effects and get this started. So I already have After Effects open. I'm just going to do Command I to import. Let's see, I'll just do Command I to import my objects here. And the first one I'm going to do is the picture frame. So I'll just click the picture frame and make sure it's set to composition, retain layer sizes, and press open. And then I'll just double click my picture here. And there we go. It's all imported. I can actually delete my guide layer. I don't really need that anymore. But we now have this inside After Effects, and it's sized to 1920 by 1080. If you do Command K to look at your settings, 1920 by 1080. So that worked out perfectly. Let's actually do Command K, and we'll set our background color to something that works a little bit better. So let's see here. I guess I'll be doing this like dark burgundy red in honor of Ron Burgundy. All right, so let's just jump right into it and get this done. All right, so let's just start. Just deselect all your layers except for your picture frame here. And we'll maybe zoom in on our timeline and just go to like 1 second and press S to bring up your scale, set a keyframe, and unclick your constrained proportions right here. And go back a little bit, and we will scale this down to maybe 10%. And then go back a little bit more, not quite to 0, and set the other, the Y scale to 0. So now it's going to pop up and then pop out like this. And what I'm actually going to do is copy this middle keyframe right here and do Command V. So now it's going to actually pop up and hold for a second and then open. So let's see how that's looking. Perfect. We'll do F9 on our keyboard and do just a real quick and easy easy ease and go into our speed graph here. Make sure that's good. Just grab this. Whoa, that did not work. There we go. So I'm just going to grab both of those and drag this out as well. And that should be just fine. Let's check it out. So it pops up real quick. I think I missed those here. And I'll try to fix these. And yeah, so you can if you don't know about the graph editor, I did a couple other videos where I explained it a little bit more. This is like Intro to Motion Graphics 3. It's still pretty basic, but I don't think I'm going to keep covering like the same stuff every time. All right, so we have our back picture frame pop in. Let's grab our picture back here. And so once our frame is in, let's just do Command D on our keyboard to copy our picture back. And let's name this Pick Alpha, and we're just going to go over to our track mats here on our picture back and set it to an alpha mat. So nothing's going to happen, but we're going to get these two symbols that indicate that the picture back is being masked by the Pick Alpha, which is good. So let's press P to bring up our position properties and just go forward a little bit. I'll also zoom in on my timeline here, and we'll set a keyframe, and then we'll just go back a little bit to right about here and just drag this up, and as you can see, it's masked, and then so now it's going to be able to pop in like that. Do F9 on my keyboard for easy ease, go into my graph editor, and I'll just do a little bit different kind of curve. I don't know, I'm not going to spend time with that. So it's going to pop up, pop in, that's going to pop down, perfect. And so as soon as that is popped down, I'm going to want my back mountain and front mountain to pop up, but if we don't, we have these giant triangles right now. So what I'm going to do is just do Command D twice to copy my pick alpha and just put one above my back mountain and one above my front mountain. Select my front mountain and back mountain, go into my track mats right here and set it to alpha, and it'll just cut our mountains for us. And then let's just select both of those, press P to bring up our position properties, go forward a little bit, set a keyframe on our position, and then go back and just wait till we have a little bit of the green. And I'm just going to drag down and until they're off the frame, and go forward a little bit, select these both and do F9 on our keyboard to make them easy ease. Go into our graph editor. As you can see, this is going to be a super fun video, but you might learn something fun. I hope so anyway. Let's see. So it's going to come down. Those are going to pop in. Let's actually stagger these keyframes to bring our mountains in at different time, just to add a little bit of interest. So I'll just highlight these two with my selection marquee and drag them over a little bit. So now they pop up at a little bit different times. Maybe select these back ones and drag them out so they come in a little bit slower. That was kind of quick. Perfect. All right, so let's just duplicate this pick alpha 2 and just drag it above our sun layer. Click our sun to turn it on and just set this to an alpha matte. So now I can drag it off the screen and it's still there. What we're going to do is, as these mountains are coming up, I'm going to want it to land right here. So let's press P on our keyboard to bring up our position properties, set a keyframe, and like right when the this back picture frame is kind of dropped down to about here, let's just drag our sun over here. And actually, if you zoom in, so you can hold Z and just use your selection marquee and it'll resize for you. When you draw a line, you'll actually see these little like handles right here. They're kind of hidden, but you can actually just drag these up and create a curve. So I'm going to do a curve just so we gotta get a little bit more interesting movement from our sun as it comes in. So it kind of gets that arc instead of just a straight turn in. And let's also make all of our layers continually rasterized. And since they're vector, that will it'll make everything not pixelated. So just set that. You can just click and drag down all of these until you get this little gear that says it's continually rasterized. So I'll just select my sun right here and press F9 to make this easy ease. And what we'll do is actually just drag this one side so it's going to slowly arrive to its position. And let's see what we have so far. So it's going to pop in. Sun comes in nice and smooth. I'll maybe drag that forward a little bit. It's all about what looks good to you. So I have the sun come in, and now what we're going to want to do is, here, I'll just save this to my desktop as motion, I guess. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything in the moment. So now what we're going to do is just do select your project window here, do Command I on your keyboard, or go to File, Import, and let's import our phone. So set your import as to composition, retain layer sizes, and click Open. And so just double click into your phone layer, and we're going to select all of our layers minus our guide layer, do Command C on our keyboard, go back into our picture here, and select your top layer and do Command V, and that's just going to paste our phone into our composition. So then do Alt back bracket to cut our layers here, and mine actually came in backwards, so I'm just going to move my phone layer to the bottom of these layers, and then my screen above my phone, and I'm actually going to highlight all of these and just click this layer color here, and just so I can distinguish on my timeline, which becomes really important down the road, just what is what, you know. So I recommend using colors as much as you can. Okay, so now that we have that set up, let's just minimize that, press U on your keyboard. All right, so I have my sun come in. That's perfect. Now what we're going to want to do is just hide these layers here, and we're going to want to get our elements. So we're going to want to get our mountain and our sun off this this background so we can transition to our phone. So just select your sun here, press S on your keyboard, and let's see. So I want it to stay in just for a second. So at about 2 seconds or so, I'm going to set a keyframe on my scale, and I'll just go forward a little bit, actually size this up to like 120, and then go forward again and set this to 0. And so then I'll select all these layers here and do F9 to make them easy ease, and I'll just keep them standard. So now it's going to pop up for a second and zoom out. I'm actually going to select these two back layers here, go into my graph editor, and make sure this is on the speed it is, and I'm going to make sure it actually pops out quicker. So I'm just going to do this and this, drag those in so we get a nice spike of speed. So now it should, yep, perfect. So that pops out real quick. And we're also going to drop our mountains out of the view. So just press P to bring up your position properties. Set a keyframe at about when the sun is getting big, and just set a keyframe here. Go forward a little bit, and I'm just going to drag these off the frame here. And also, once again, I'll just highlight 2 of them and maybe stagger them a little bit so they don't drop out at the same time. So that looks fine. I might go into my graph editor. Actually, I'm not going to worry about it. We'll keep it basic. So right now we have the sun come in. We have the mountains come out. And what we're now going to want to do is resize our screen. This actually worked out perfectly. I seriously didn't plan this when I first made these icons, that they transition really well to each other. So that was kind of a nice accident, I guess. So I'm actually going to select my all my layers except for my which ones am I getting? Yeah, so except for my picture frame, my picture back, and my pick alpha, and just do alt front bracket to cut them, because now I just don't need to see them anymore in my timeline once they have moved off the screen. So that's nice to keep our timeline nice and clean. Okay, so I'm going to save that real quick. And now what I'm going to do is just turn on my phone layer and press T on my keyboard to bring up my opacity and just turn this down just so I can still see what's going on behind it. And so what I'm going to do now is, as these elements are starting to slide out and almost all the way out, so like about here, I'm going to go into my picture frame and press S to bring up my scale and just set a keyframe. Make sure your constraint proportions icon is off right here, and just go forward a little bit and scale on my X until it is roughly the same size as my phone layer. And you can zoom in and really get it accurate if you want, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Just get it kind of close, so that should be fine. And just select those 2 layers. They should be easy ease. If they're not, you can fix that. Zoom in on these and just give it a little bit of a different look. So it add a little bit of interest to your motion. So it's going to resize pretty decently. And now let's go onto our phone layer here and press T to turn your opacity back up to 100%. I'm going to do Command D, and I'm going to name this Phone Alpha. And we're going to be doing the same little trick that we've done for other ones, where I will actually grab this track mat here and set it to an alpha. And then on my phone layer, press P for position and go forward a bit and set a position keyframe, and then go back and just drag my, here I'll actually move my window, and I'm just going to drag this up until it's not in the frame. So now once my back has like morphed to the right size, I'm going to actually have my color of my next object slide in over the top, and it's going to look, I mean, you could spend time really lining up your layers so it looks a little bit cleaner, but that is going to be how I transition between elements. And this can get way more complicated than this. I just chose a pretty basic example just to get everything moving on this project today, instead of like jumping into like 14 layers or, you know, something nuts. So anyway, we have that resize, that falls in all right. Might make that a little bit longer. And so now we're going to do the same thing. I'm actually going to just hide this phone layer here. And this is why it's helpful to have these layer colors set. I'm going to hide my phone layer, and now I'm going to want to resize my screen. So I'm going to select my screen of my phone here and press T to bring up my opacity and just turn this down. And basically, as my phone is resizing, or my picture frame, I'll just go back. I'm going to want to also resize my picture back and also my picture alpha. So just press S on your keyboard. And what we're going to do is unclick our constraint proportions and set a scale keyframe. And then just make sure you can do a K on your keyboard to go to the same keyframe you had for your picture frame scale. Just press it a couple of times till it lines up. And I'm going to want to just turn this down as well until it fits. We might have to do a little bit of position change as well, which shouldn't be a problem. So we'll just go back to the first scale keyframe and press P to bring up our position and set a keyframe. Press U to bring up the properties you've changed for both of them, and just go forward on your timeline. I hope you guys are following this. I don't mean to move too fast, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want to spend all night explaining this video, and I want to try to keep it in one video. And if you have questions, of course, I'm happy to answer them. If you just want to drop me a comment or something, I'll definitely get back to you. But yeah, so I'll just then scale this up until it's the right size, and maybe turn my height up. All right, so that's close enough. The thing with motion graphics is you really can like do fast changes. Like the eye really can't catch, like one frame of little difference. So I'm fine just like cutting that layer, and actually I won't cut that yet, but I'm fine not having it line up perfect. And just for that one frame, it will like pop into place, and most people wouldn't notice, but some people will, of course. So just something to keep in mind is you can be like a little sloppy. I wouldn't recommend just doing that all over the place, but normally this is fine. And if you have more time and aren't doing like this quick video like I am, I would definitely spend time changing it. But if you don't have that time or are working on a project for like some rush or I don't know, if you're working in a rush, it's okay to kind of cheat like that. At least I think so. So it's going to, yeah, and this, I don't know if this is going to be perfect. It's now kind of wobbling around a little bit. So maybe, oh, I forgot to set up position keyframe right here for, oh, that was stupid of me. And I'll just go here. Okay, so now we're good. And I guess I'll just leave it to a basic easy ease just so it resizes. And once it's resized, I'm going to want to, sorry, I'm trying to keep this organized. Does get a little confusing. So let's grab our screen here and just do Command D to duplicate our layer. And I'm going to call this screen alpha. And just to hide that layer, go onto my real screen and set an alpha matte. So it is using the layer above it as a kind of window. And I will just press P to bring up my position, set a keyframe, and just move back in time, and just drag this up. So it's going to kind of fall in over everything. That'll work. And then do F9 on my keyboard to make that easy ease. And I'll just do some quick little random change on my graph editor just to make it a little bit more different than the standard transition. So let's see how this is looking. That all happens fine. I'm going to make my real phone layer also available. And so what I'm actually going to do is move my phone layer. It's actually cutting off over my screen. So I might just drag these layers, these keyframe layers here back a little bit, just so we have that transition. We're going to see the screen come over first, over our button. And then once our screen is in, so once it's like right about there, I can just go down into my my picture back and my pick alpha of my first layer and just do Alt front bracket to cut that, and then just go forward until my phone layer is in, and then just go down and select my picture frame and do Alt forward bracket as well. So with those selected, let's do Command A to select all your layers and U to minimize everything. And what we're going to do is select all of our purple layers that correspond to our picture frame. So I'm just going to highlight all of these and click this little figure here, and that is called shy. So I'm going to click this, and then I'm going to go and click this shy icon here, and that'll just hide it in our timeline. It's still there, but it's just not in our view, so we won't clutter up our workspace. So if you're working in a very small timeline like that, that is like invaluable little tip. So anyway, now we have our transitions happening. It all pops in, pops out. We have our transition to our phone. So as our phone transition is happening, let's just pop in our button real quick. So I'll press S to bring up my scale. Right after my my phone frame has popped in, I'll set a keyframe. Just go back and I'll set this to 0 here. So it's going to, I didn't realize it was orange, just like my my picture frame color. So I'll just do that and do F9 to set a easy ease, and then I'll just go and quickly change my graph just a little bit. And so it pops in fine. And now what we'll do is also select this top earphone, which is actually a speaker, but I blanked on the word when we were first doing it. And I am just going to also scale that up. So as soon as it is, the green has covered that portion, I'm going to set a keyframe here and go forward and set another keyframe, go back to my first keyframe, unclick my constraint proportions, and scale down my, my X scale to 0. So now it's going to pop in like that, but let's actually set another keyframe after our second one here and go back to our middle keyframe and actually just set this up to like 114. So it's actually going to like overshoot and then land at the right spot. And I'll set this to easy ease, go into my graph editor real quick, zoom in just by clicking this button here to fit all graphs to view. And I'll just change this graph pretty randomly and just get a little bit different kind of movement. Let's see how this is all looking. And I'll do, just go forward a little bit, press N on my timeline to set my work area, press 0 to preview everything, and we'll see how this is coming together. So that's looking pretty all right. It's fine. And if you want, let's actually add a little screen glare over the top of that. Whoa, didn't mean to click that. So I'm just gonna grab a shape layer here and just draw a quick rectangle, and I'll use my move anchor point script. This is the only time I'm going to use it, and just make sure my anchor point is in the middle of my rectangle. I'm going to select my rectangle and select my fill color, use my eyedropper to select the screen color, and just change this ever so slightly. So just drag it in some direction so it's a little bit off. Press W to bring up your rotate tool and rotate this just a little bit diagonal. V for your arrow tool, and we'll just move this object up over here. I'm going to rename this layer glare, and I'm going to select my screen here and do Command D to duplicate my screen and drag it above my glare. Once again, we'll be using the very helpful track matte and make this an alpha matte. So now our glare is going to get out of the way, and just go back until the screen is about here, or you're like this far through the transition. Press P for your position properties of your glare and set a keyframe, and just go forward, and we'll just drag our glare over our screen to about here. Press F9 for easy ease, and we'll just keep it basic, and let's see how this is looking. So now we're going to get a little bit of a, I don't know, like a little glare, I guess, literally comes through the screen. And what I might do is actually just turn this opacity down a bit. So I'll just select my glare layer and turn this down to 35, just so we get a little bit, like that was pretty boring. And that looks fine. This is going a little slow. I would recommend making all your transitions fast to like keep interest, but I just want to show you guys how you can work through all these object transitions. Okay, so now that we have our phone, let's go into our project window here and do Command I, and let's import our coffee mug, which was our next transition. Say your import as a composition, retain layer sizes, click that and click open. Let's click into our composition for our coffee layer, delete our guide layer, and select our top lid to our little protection, hand protection thing. Do Command C on our keyboard to copy this, and go back into our picture comp, which was our main comp, and I'll move my work window over. Click the top layer and do Command V on your keyboard to paste this in. Do Alt forward bracket to cut your layers right here. I think I'm saying this right. That might be back bracket. Sorry, that's Alt back bracket to cut it. And so once again, this is pasted in a little bit funny. So I'm going to make sure my cup is on my screen too, it looks like it is doing an alpha automatically, so I'm just going to set this to no track matte so we don't have any issues with that. I'll select my coffee layers and just set this to a blue, no, not a blue, I do have a blue layer already. I'm going to set this to a brown because it's coffee. And I'll just drag my cup layer over here. I'll drag this to the bottom of my coffee layer so we have this nice look. And I'm going to drag my top lid behind my middle lid just so we get that nice cut. Okay, so with that set up, let's hide all of our layers, and I'll show you how we're going to go about this transition. So we have all our phone pop up, and after our little glare has come through, we're going to very simply, what did I do in this video? Sorry, let me just scrub through it. I kind of have blanked. Okay, so I just did a very basic transition here. Okay, so let's make that real quick. We're just going to select our button layer. This is why it's very important to name things and also do this coloring. At least in my book, I think it's helpful. So let's select our button layer and set a keyframe. And I'll just go forward a little bit and actually scale this up so we get a little bit of a pop to, I guess, 124. And then I'll go forward a little bit more and set this to 0. And I'm going to keep this as a basic easy ease for now. So it's going to pop up and zoom out. Actually, I'll select these back two layers, go into my graph editor here, and fit all graphs to view or fit selected to view. And I will just make this slowly go out, actually. So I'll resize this window and see. So it should pop up quick and then zoom out slowly. So that looks fine. And let's just do the same for our little speaker at the top up here. So as this is happening, I'm just going to set a keyframe on my scale, and we'll just do a really simple one and scale our X down to 0. And since both of these layers are going to be out now, let's select our button and an earphone, go forward a little bit and do Alt forward bracket to cut our layers and just keep this all clean. We can probably also do the same for our glare and our screen alpha for our glare, which I should actually rename to glare alpha real quick for you. And so now as you can see, we're really cleaning up our timeline, and that's going to be helpful when you click out of your shy. You can see exactly what's going on at what time. So I recommend always trying to stay as organized as you possibly can. Okay, so now that I have this all happen, I would like to transition this this phone layer into this main cup layer. So I'm looking at this, and that's just not going to work. It's going to be harder than this basic, like just using scale or position. So what we're actually going to do is right click our cup layer and go to create shapes from vector layer, which is very helpful, and this will create paths for us. So I'm going to click that and just drag this down here. And I'm going to keep this cup layer just for now, and I'm also going to make this a different color just to make sure I know what's going on. So the cool thing about this is I can now have a path keyframe. So if you twirl down and select your path, you can actually change your path. I'll show you real quick. So I can actually change what my cup looks like instead of just scaling it up or down. So then I'll go out and select my cup layer and cup outlines, press U to only bring up my keyframe properties. And what I'm going to do is just go forward a little bit. I'm actually going to press T to bring up my opacity and just turn this down a little bit. Press U to bring up my keyframe properties and just go forward until my little button and my speaker are out. And that actually is going to be perfect. And just set my end result keyframe, which I set a keyframe on my path, so it's going to keep this position a little bit after that. And then as those are coming out, I'm just going to select these corners here. Make sure your path layer is selected, otherwise you're not going to be able to drag these like this. And I'm just going to roughly position it and use that little cheat, motion graphics cheat, that the eye can't catch all the little changes. You know, now that we're looking for it, we'll probably see that little difference when these layer changes happen. But for the most part, we should be able to sneak by with this. So that looks good. I'm actually going to hide this layer real quick. Go up into my fill options for this layer, select the eyedropper tool, and actually select my back color here. So that is going to be sneaky. So now, as you can see, if I turn my opacity up on this, it's actually the same color as our coffee mug, and we should get that transition. So it actually went, yeah, so that actually did work. As you can see, it changes to the shape of our coffee mug, which is perfect. So now what I'm going to do is just minimize this cup layer, and I'm going to do the same exact thing for our little protection part for our cup. So I'm going to do I'm going to select my protection layer, right click, and to go create shapes from vector layer, and just drag this down right under my protection layer. Go up into my fill here, and I will select the same color as my screen. Perfect. Hold command and click my little twirl here, and I'll twirl that down, set a position keyframe, press U to go back out and only see our selected keyframes, and I'm going to move this keyframe forward to, I'll zoom in on my timeline by pressing plus, and just make sure that the two keyframes are moving at the same speed, and then I'll just go forward to when my cup starts to morph in, or my fake phone screen starts to morph into my cup. select my path layer on my protection outlines, just select each of the corners, and I'm going to just position them roughly at the corners of where my phone is. Just make sure they look all right. You could spend way more time on this. I'm trying to go through this quick and keep this to one video, like I said. So if you like this video so far, please throw me a like, and I'll keep putting up some cool videos and try to do it. But I mean, if I don't hear anything, I don't know if it's helping anybody. So yeah, with that said, I'll stop being annoying about that. But press F9 to make these easy ease. Go into my graph editor here, and just make sure I have both layers selected. Use my selection marquee to drag over both of them, and I'm just going to select both. Make sure you're selecting both. Make these a little bit faster transitions, and they're going to pop into place. That'll be perfect. Cool. So I'm not seeing my other one right now, but I'll select my cup outlines layer. And so now I'm actually going to, let's just see when our speaker and our button are out of the way. So it's going to look like right here. I'm going to select my protection layer and my cup outline layer, and just make sure those are both visible. And then I'll do Alt back bracket to cut them. So it should be very abrupt. So I'll just go to the forward of these protection layer and protection outline and cup outlines, and just go down on my timeline and find my various screens here. So my phone and screen alphas, and I'll just do Alt forward bracket to cut it, so it's not even going to be noticeable to the eye, because well, I mean, I guess it's a little bit noticeable, but it kind of works. You could be way more accurate, but as you can see, it's basically not noticeable, you see. So that's cool. But what we're gonna want to do is what are we going to want to do is a good question here. What I'm actually going to do now is just drag up a little bit. I'm going to copy my cup outlines layer, so it's going to be this pink one. Do Command D and drag this above my protection outlines, and I'm going to call this protection alpha. And I don't want it, because as you can see, it's going actually over our cup here. So if I just select my protection outlines and go to my track mat and set it to alpha, it'll now cut perfectly instead of having that weirdness. So there we go. That's working. And now what we're going to want to do is just bring in our regular cup layers. So where is this? I still have my protection layer that we made a vector path from. So as you can see, it's right there. And what we're going to do with this is, that is the color we want. So let's first actually go down, and we'll make sure this is clean. So let's select all our layers that don't have to do with our coffee mug, and just select them all and click our shy button, and they'll disappear, and our timeline will once again be clean, which is exactly what we want. And we will continue with this. So now what I'm going to want to do is, we'll get these colors to change in just a second, but let's pop up our middle lid and our top lid here, and to get this really nice staggered movement. So I'm just going to wait till my coffee mug's in, and go forward and press S on my keyboard to bring up my scale, set a keyframe. Holding Shift, press P to also pop up our position properties and set a keyframe. And let's just go back a little bit and move them up on our y-axis, so just about here, and then go back a little bit and also set a keyframe on our scale here, and then go back a little bit more and set another position keyframe on both of them, and then unclick your constrained proportions icons, and let's just scale these down. So they're smaller than our cup, maybe even a little bit more than that. And then go back a little bit more, and we're going to just drag these down on our position properties. So now they're going to pop up, and well, they're going to pop up and shoot out and then fall. So I might move this one back a little bit. So it's going to be like pop and like that. So now what I'm going to do is just select my top lid and just do Alt right arrow to move them over a little bit, to get a little bit of a staggered movement. So now they kind of look like they're falling on top of each other, which is cool. That'll work. Let's select all these layers and do F9 to make them easy ease. And well, we could go into our graph editor and really mess with it, but I think this should be fine. So we'll just leave it like that. And let's grab our middle lid and our top lid layers and just drag this under our cup layer. So now it's kind of like hidden behind it. And we'll actually, we'll So go forward to right when they're like still behind our cup and just do Alt back bracket to cut them. So that works great. So we now have the transition from our phone to our coffee mug. And I think as these little lids are in the air, we are going to bring up the color for our cup. So select your regular cup layer and we'll click the arrow to make sure it's there. That works great. So let's duplicate our cup layer. And I'm going to call this main cup alpha. I hope you guys are following along. I'm trying to like explain stuff, but it's a little confusing sometimes. So I'll make my cup layer visible, select my cup and go to track matte, alpha matte. And I will just press P to bring up my position properties. And when the first lid touches, I'm going to set a keyframe on my position and drag backwards to when the cups are in the air. So like right about there, just drag down on my y-axis until it's out of the way. And then I'll do F9 to make these easy ease. Go into my graph editor and I'm just going to set it so it falls really quick. Or so it shoots up really quick. So that is going to work. And then as this one is coming up so like about a fifth of the way up, I'm going to do the same exact thing for my protection. So I'll make this layer visible, but I'm actually going to have to duplicate my protection, my cup layer. So I'll have to do my main cup alpha, do Command D, and I'm going to actually put this above my protection layer and set an alpha matte on my protection layer. So now it's going to cut actually around the cup because remember our layer was too big. So I'm going to press P on my keyboard, go forward a little bit and set a keyframe and then actually go backwards and drag this off to the left just to make it a little different. I don't know. That's fine. And then I will set a quick keyframe. And then that should work great. So we have our coffee mug that gets all built. And yeah, so let's keep moving. We're almost there. I wonder how long this has been. Yeah, this is going to be about an hour. Sorry guys, I'm trying. I'm also losing my voice talking so much. So I will select all of these layers and just minimize them to keep our timeline clean. Let's bring in our final element, and I cannot wait. Let's do Command I to bring up our layers and select our camera layer, import as, composition, retain layer sizes, and click open. Just let me take a sip of water real quick, guys. Sorry. Gosh, I needed that. Okay, so now I still sound like a frog, but we'll roll with it. We're just about there. Let's double click into our camera composition here. Delete our guide layer. Select all of our camera layers, do Command C on your keyboard, go back into your main composition, select your top layer and do Command V to duplicate them, Alt back bracket to cut them all. And now what we're going to do is just morph exactly how we did with our vector paths, our coffee mug into our camera. So I'm going to hide all my camera layers here. And I'm also going to just scroll back until my main colors. So as soon as this protection color, the right one, is over my protection outline path, I'm gonna cut the path. So do Alt forward bracket, just so we don't get this weird outline here. So there we go. And I'll also do the same for my cup outline. So I'll just go down to my cup outline, Alt forward bracket to cut that one so we don't get any kind of weird shadowing. And there we go. So now let's change our camera body the same exact way that we did for this coffee mug, and we will have a finished little animation. So that's pretty exciting. Let's right click our camera body and go to create shapes from vector layer and just drag this down a little bit and select all of our camera layers actually, and let's just create another color. I'm going to do yellow, and let's select our camera body outlines and just twirl down holding Command and just set a path keyframe. Press U to bring up your keyframed properties, and I'm just going to drag this forward. So wait till my mug is all together, and right about there I'm going to start this transition. So I'm just going to once again roughly approximate where the mug is, and it won't be perfect, but we can cheat a little bit like I've been saying over and over and over, which I'm sure you guys are like beating your head on something at this point. But I'm going to hide that layer real quick and go into my fill options, select my eyedropper tool, select the coffee mug color, and just kind of cheat like that. And that will work. And then at the same time, I'm going to do Alt back bracket just to cut that layer. I'm going to go and select my ribbon layer and do right click and go create shapes from vector paths. Drag my ribbon outlines under my real ribbon layer. Go into my fill options. Go into my fill options, select the eyedropper tool and select the same color as my coffee mug here. Hold command and twirl down, select a path keyframe, press U to twirl back up and only use our selected keyframes. I'm going to go forward to exactly where my camera body is and move that keyframe. Go back to where I started the transition for my camera body, and I'm just going to resize this layer to roughly where this coffee protection thing is. And let's see, so I hope you guys like this video so far. It's definitely a longer one, so that's going to pop out fine. So now I will just go down and I can now get rid of my camera body. Which ones are it? So I can get rid of these main cup, and it looks like I can get rid of all this. So I'm going to do Alt back bracket here, and it's going to be a pretty seamless transition, I hope. So let's see, camera body outlines. It's not too noticeable. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a little jump there, but I didn't really spend time on it, but that should work pretty good. Cool. I'll select both of these and press F9 to make them easy ease. Go into my graph editor and just fit all graphs to view. Use my selection marquee to make sure I'm selecting both paths, and I'm just going to give this a little bit more motion to it. Perfect. Go out of my graph editor, and I might even move these forward to make that a little bit of a slower transition. And let's see. So we have that. That works perfectly. So as this is like halfway through its transition, let's go and select our lens and just make that visible and press S to bring up your scale properties. Set a keyframe and actually just drag this forward a little bit and set another keyframe and drag this down to 0. Go forward a bit more, so halfway between these two, and let's set this up to 120 so it pops up a little bit too big before resizing. And I'll just make these easy ease, so F9 on your keyboard, and so we have this all pop up like that. And now what we need to do is, as this lens is almost popping up, one of the things I always try to do with motion graphics is to keep here, let's actually grab all of our coffee mug layers here and just make them shy as well to keep our timeline clean. One of the things I try to keep in mind when I'm doing motion graphics is to always have something moving in the scene, at least during transitions. Like, there's no reason everything should come in at once. You want to stagger stuff and just keep that visual interest. I mean, that doesn't work for every project, but you know, like sometimes you have to keep something on the screen for a second. But just as a general rule of thumb, I like to keep things moving always. So I'll press S to bring up my scale on my lens layer and set a keyframe, unclick this constraint proportions and go back a little bit. And make sure like I start bringing it in when it's actually on something. So I'll just scale down my X here to 0 and have that pop in. Might even have that pop in a little slower. Select both and do F9 on my keyboard. Go into my graph editor and fit all graphs to view, and I'll just drag this side forward and this side back a little bit. I forgot to use my selection marquee to drag both of them, so make sure you're doing that. And so let's see how that is going. So that looks fine. And now we need to do something with these top pieces. And what we're going to do is, let's see, as this falls, I'm going to just grab this button right here, and I'm actually going to unclick my shy button and make sure to just click the one I want, and it's going to highlight on our timeline. So find what that one is, unclick your shy button, and then come back up here. So it's back in our timeline. I'm going to press P to bring up my position properties and set a keyframe here. Go forward a little bit, and then as this camera has built, I'm just going to drop this behind there like that and just get rid of it because I don't want to see it anymore. I hate it. And then do Alt forward bracket to cut that layer so it just disappears if we want it to do something else. So it just kind of falls behind and gets out of the way, which is fantastic. And then as this is ducking behind, let's just pop up our button here So I'll do P to bring up my position properties and set a keyframe and drag this forward just a little bit. And I will just drag this down and then put this also behind my camera outlines. So this looks like it pops up from behind. And then let's see, just go back to my first keyframe and I'll do Alt back bracket just to cut it so it's not there. It would be sticking out on the side if we didn't cut that layer right now. So that just is gonna pop up nice and smooth. I'll do F9 on my keyboard to make that easy ease. Go into my graph editor. This is super repetitive, guys, so it's actually really good practice, of course. And I will make this like that, just for a little interest. I feel like I've just been beating you guys in the head with a rock of the same exact little phrases over and over. So, man, I feel bad, but sorry about that. Hope this video is still decent. And then I'm just going to, so what do I have to do? I have to put the flash on top here. So that's actually a different color. All right, so I guess what we'll do is just also tuck this little guy behind our camera as well. I don't think I did that in the first video, but that's what we're gonna do for this one and just get it out of the way because we don't wanna see that anymore. Where is this highlighted layer? So just scroll up until you find your top lid, unclick your shy button, and click your shy back on, and let's see. So as this falls, I'm gonna want it to be staggered. So when that one starts falling, I'll press P to bring up my position and set a keyframe and just go forward a little bit more than the other one and just drag this down as well. And then cut my layer, so do Alt forward bracket. And let's see if that worked. Yeah, and I mean, I could even make this a little bit longer and go into my graph editor and just make this look a little different. That should be fine. Okay, so that's out of the way, and then all I have to do is, I guess we'll be lame and just scale this up. So I'll press S and just go forward. Sorry guys, I'm so sick of talking. It's a lot to talk about. So anyway, I will just press 0 and that'll pop in just like that. And then I think I have to show you one more thing and we are all good. So let's see, fit all graphs to view and scale this up, or not scale this up, just move around on the graph editor. And let's see, so we have all that happening. This ribbon I somehow moved over a lot, so I gotta drag this back and make sure that's lined up right. Nice. All right, so all we're gonna have to do now is wipe in our actual camera colors, which I think were like dark blues. So I'm gonna do Command A to select all my layers and U to minimize them all. And let's just find our regular ribbon here. Press U or make it visible, and do Command D to rename this ribbon alpha, and we'll do our alpha trick. So just select your track matte here and set it to alpha matte, and we'll set P to bring up our position properties. And just as everything is coming in, so after the camera has actually taken the camera shape, as everything is coming in, I'm going to set a keyframe and just go back a little bit and just move this off to the left over here like that. And I'll just set a basic easy ease here. And then I will be doing the same exact thing for our regular camera body. So I'll select my camera body and do Command D to duplicate it. Call this cam body alpha, and just select my regular cam body and go to track matte, alpha matte, and press P to bring up my position, set a keyframe, and just go back to where my ribbon was off on the side, and I will be dragging this in from the other opposite direction, and then just press F9 to make this easy ease. Okay, so our animation is all together. Let's take a look. So I'm actually going to unclick all my shy layers here. Make sure all my layers are selected and select this continually rasterize option. I forgot to do that after the beginning. Make sure they're all like this, and as you can see, this is a really easy way when you're working in a cramped space to see what's happening when you cut your layers like this. So I recommend always trying to do that for all your projects. And also I'm going to select motion blur, so this little checkbox here for all my layers, and then turn on motion blur and turn on shy. So let's see how this all looks. I'll just press N to set my work area to about 7.5 seconds and press 0 to preview, and we'll see. Looks like I have a little random thing happen up there. Let's see what that is. Oh, that's my all right, so I'll unclick my shy layer and just troubleshoot, and it's because I did not have my what is this thing? All right, so this is my glare. It seems to not be covered by my glare alpha at this point. So let's do U on my keyboard, and oh, I see what happened. So I will just have to delete this first keyframe because it's still moving just like my regular screen. So now it's just not moving, because before I was like lifted up over here. So troubleshooting done. Let's actually see our animation. So I'll press 0 on my keyboard to preview and see how everything has come together. So as you can see, this is a really easy way. Yeah, that transition happened kind of quick there. I didn't really time it out, but yeah, this is kind of a nice smooth way to create object transitions, and I really hope you guys liked it today. It was a lot of talking, and if you want to see more videos like this and perhaps not as long, just leave me a comment or like this video, and I really would appreciate it. And thanks a ton for supporting the channel. So anyway, this was Matt from Mount Mograph. Get your learn on, guys. Peace out.